kitty! It's already time for the first book reviews of 2020. What? Cool. Crazy. January's done. It's done and gone. Get out of here, January. Nobody liked you anyway. Let's talk about the books I read in January. If you remember, is the month of me reading the freaking books on my shelf that have been on my shelf for a really long time. So all of these books are old. They're not only old being on my shelf, they're ones that most people in the booktube community have probably already read a long time ago. And I am late to that. Choo-choo. Now, let's quick just look at my stats. I have been using my reading planner. It only allots to read 12 books in a month, and I read more than that, so I had to go into some of the notes sections of this to complete my reviews for them. But in total, I read 15 books. Not bad. Mind you, the original TBR, there were 10 other books on the TBR that I did not get to, but that is because one of them, I did start one of the series, because one of the series has 4 books and I don't own the other 3. So I only read the first one. And then there were 2 trilogies I did not get to. One more solo nonfiction book that I did not get a chance to. But I did read 2 trilogies this month and 4 standalones on this TBR. I also completed another series I had started last year as well because I needed more audiobooks and none of these were audiobooks. So that changed my reading list for the month a little bit. But anyway, of genres, I read 6 fantasy books, 3 time travel books. I don't know what to classify time travel as because is it urban fantasy? Because it was set in modern day sometimes, but it also had this magic time travel. Is it sci-fi? It didn't feel sci-fi enough. I don't know. We read 1 nonfiction book, either 1 or 4 mystery books. I don't know how to classify one of them. It's definitely not just contemporary. I'm just gonna go ahead and say 4 YA mystery thrillers / possibly 3 with superhero-like things, and 1 magical realism. In total, I read 5,751 pages. That's a lot of pages. I also listened to them. I don't know how many hours in total of audiobook I listened to. I will find that out, and this is how many hours. Cool. Glad I already knew that ahead of time. Let's talk about the books, shall we? So the very first book that I read was Pecks Hall by Rachel Hawkins. I liked this so much more than I thought I would. This was published in 2010. It's a decade old now. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, it is very much that time period of YA. There's that paranormal romancy kind of bit to it, but I did not hate this main character. I thought she was very believable in her resentments, in her humor, in her opinions. This was a main character I could get behind. So I gave this 3.5 stars out of 5. I do want to read the rest of the series. I am very intrigued as to how the rest of this will go. I just don't own the rest of the series, and they didn't have the rest of the series in audiobook because I did read this on audiobook. My library only had the 1 copy, and I need the other one. Front Range Community College Library. So if anybody wants to send me the rest of the series, go ahead and do that. I realize I didn't tell you anything about this book. It deals with a girl who is a witch who has very dark magic. She tries to help out a friend at school with a love spell that goes horribly wrong, and she gets sent to Pecks Hall, also known as Hex Hall, where all the baddie children of the world kind of go to school there, and shenanigans ensue. Next up is more audiobooks that I read. I believe this was also published in 2010. So the first book of this trilogy came out in 2011, but that is Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, also followed by Sapphire Blue and Emerald Green. I went in not realizing this is time travel. I thought this was like historical romancy things based on cover. Look at it. It's got pretty girl, pretty dress. That's because she goes back in time and has to wear the pretty stuff. There's a lot in the Rococo period, and that's funny. These, I believe, were actually originally in German and were translated because there is the entire trilogy as a movie, but it's in German, and I cannot find a copy with subtitles because I don't speak German. So if anybody knows where I can get a copy with subtitles, because I tried watching the dubbed version and I couldn't do it. I did only give Ruby Red 2 stars because this is where it is very, it's in the bad way of that 2010s tropiness, in that the main girl is so obsessed with how gorgeous your main guy is. And can we get over how gorgeous he is? Because I always say gorgeous. And it's just like, learn another adjective, please. He's not a nice guy. He's a jerk. And the whole, like, secret society of time travelers is so misogynistic. It's ridiculous and annoying. And even the love interest is pretty misogynistic towards her and several other girls. So, like, I don't get the appeal of him. He had so much more potential. There was just so much of the main girl just wanting to make out with him, or him wanting to make out with her, and then conspiracy, and then I don't trust you, but I trust you, but I don't trust you, but I trust you, but I don't trust you, but I trust you. Let's make out. The only character I gave any sort of crap about in this entire series was Demarius, a gargoyle who just makes fun of everyone, and I thoroughly appreciated him. It's a very fast read. I listened to it on audiobook. I listened to it at 1.25 speed. That's pretty much the max speed I can do in an audiobook. Some of these other booktubers out here are listening it at twice the speed, and I'm like, how? How did you pay attention? This is a complicated relationship. I do think I will probably unhaul these books because I don't see myself picking them up again or ever caring about them. Aside from their very pretty covers, I do appreciate the color codiness of their books, but disappointment. The next series was the first physical books that I read this month, and fantastic! The Mara Dyer trilogy. So we have The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and The Retribution of Mara Dyer. I do think I love the first one the best. It's constantly throwing you for a loop and you're not sure what's going on nearly the entire time. Even with the romance that is in it, it's not overbearing and there's more going on than just that. The way that the covers are does make it seem like it's very heavily focused on that romance, but it's not. This is where I'm like, I don't know what to classify this, because there's mystery. There's also this kind of, they have superpowers, but they're not like regular superpower, not like a Marvel superpower. Mara is in an accident in the beginning where all of her friends die in a collapsed building, and she's convinced she did that. Because if she thinks of a way for you to die, it happens. She comes across a guy who is abusive to this dog, and she imagines him in a very specific and gory way to die. Then she leaves, comes back because she wants to rescue the dog because she was on her way to school at the time, and then finds out he is dead in the exact way that she imagined it. So it's like, does she have the superpower or is she crazy? And the guy that she meets also has not the same ability, but he can kind of heal. And they're kind of these opposite ends or two sides of the same coin kind of situation. And then other people get involved and major conspiracies happen. And there is a new companion series dealing with Noah's side of the story, I think. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to pick it up. I do also really like Michelle Hodkins' writing style, so yes. Da-da-da. Next up, I did another audiobook, and this was my nonfiction pick of the month, and that was Nothing to Envy: Ordinary Lives in North Korea by Barbara Demick. They are the compiled stories from interviews that Barbara Demick did with defectors from North Korea, and this was so good. It's almost like some of the narratives feel like fiction, even though they're very, very real, but the way that her prose is when she's writing about these makes it feel more like a full story rather than just interview, here's the facts, this is what happened. She weaves it together in a more like spider web of storytelling, but storytelling facts. I'd really actually liked to see this adapted into a documentary of some sort, or where it's like reenactment, because the way that the story is, there are two characters in particular that I was just rooting for the whole time. And I mean, like, you know, they all get out because otherwise how could they have done this interview? But you're also really rooting for them to be together, but you already know how it's gonna end because they kind of tell you right in the beginning. But the way that it's written, you're still like, ah, on the, you know, edge of your seat, trying to, you know, go with them on this journey of freedom. It's so good. I was not expecting to like this as much as I did. I expected it to be intriguing and interesting facts, but I did not expect to be so gripped by the narration of it. There you go. Next up, we get into the magical realism world with Anna Marie McLemore, who is one of my favorite authors, with her book Wild Beauty. Between the two books that I've now read by Anna Marie McLemore, I do like When the Moon Was Ours better. This took me a bit to get into because I was very confused. But granted, When the Moon Was Ours, I was also very confused in the beginning. This one deals with these women who are kind of magic, and they can grow they grow things, basically. They all kind of specialize. And one of the girls, Calla, creates these beautiful calla lilies. And our main character is actually named for a star because there's also a curse going on with this family where whoever they love will be taken by this area that they live in. They will just disappear. And they're all 5 girls, I guess cousins because they're not sisters. All 5 of these cousins are in love with the same girl named Bae Briar. She's the bastard daughter of this big not famous, but very rich, prominent family somewhere else. And she lives with her grandmother. I don't remember the relation, but one of the older relations. The older relation passes away, leaving Bae Briar to take care of the house and everything. But her horrible, cousin comes along, Reed, and he is nasty as hell, and everyone hates him. But there's also, because the girls want to protect Bae Briar from disappearing, because they all love her so much, they give offerings to the land, which I'm forgetting what the land is called, but it brings back to life a boy who supposedly died hundreds of years ago. And now they don't know what to do with this boy, but he kind of just becomes part of the family. And that's all I'll tell you, because it is a wild ride. It is a wild ride. Wild beauty right there. It is very beautiful. I love the way that she writes. And it definitely took me a bit to get into this one, but it was worth it in the end. So, worth it. Next up, I read The May Queen Murders by Sarah Jude. This one deals with, I don't know if it's like an Amish community, but it's something like that. Kind of, I'm gonna guess, unincorporated community. I don't know. Maybe they're incorporated because the kids go to school at the regular school with the regular kids. But murders afoot. There is a crazy dude in the woods who's killing animals. I did not like that. There was a lot of animal deaths that happened in this, so fair warning, and animal mutilation that also happens, so a lot more than I was thinking there was going to be. I actually thought there would be none of that. I thought we were just going to kill the May Queen. So our main character, Ivy, and her best friend slash cousin, Heather, live in this area, and Heather is kind of going off on her own, separating from Ivy, and Ivy doesn't know why. Ivy wants to protect her because there are all these animal deaths going on, and everyone's scared that it's this legend of this crazy man who will then later move on to killing young girls. I predicted 2 of the 3 main twists. So this is why it gets a little bit of a higher rating than what it was going to be, because number 1, you're supposed to care about Heather, and I just didn't. There was nothing appealing about her character to me. She was mean to her supposed best friend slash cousin all of the time. There wasn't that moment where we see them being actual friends. It was just she's nasty and horrible and running off on her own, leaving everything behind. Things could have been easily avoided if she had just told Ivy. Easily done. Nobody needed to die. They bring back the May Queen Festival and Heather gets picked as the May Queen. You can guess what happens by that. And other people do die that I did not expect to die, but there was a big part where Ivy and her boyfriend, they are a new couple, but her boyfriend he falls off a horse and hurts his head, and he's laying in bed, injured, and now's the best time for their first time, right? I don't think so. So that, I was like, really? Really? Okay. I think that was unnecessary for this. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this. This is another one I think I will be unhauling, but you might like it. I think I have more cons than pros with this one. 2 more to do because I have 4 books in one series after this one. But this one is Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart. This is another disappointment. This one had such potential, and it's not bad because I am intrigued enough to read the sequel. I didn't realize there was going to be a sequel. I think it's a full duology, and I am intrigued enough to go find that one. However, this is set in an extreme patriarchy world. Think Handmaid's Tale, but fantasy dystopian. Not even fantasy. There's no magic. It's just this other place. Girls are not allowed to basically do anything except get married and have babies. Or be a Grace. And Graces are the concubines to the superior. We don't call him a king, he is a superior. There are 2 sisters in this, Serena and Nomi. And Serena has been training to be a Grace all of her life. Nomi has been her handmaiden. She's the wild girl, she's the tomboy. But they go to the palace to become selected to be, or Serena goes to be selected as a new Grace by the heir, who is like the prince. It's gonna be his first time picking a Grace. Or 3, he picks 3 Graces, that's what he's supposed to do. Nomi decides, I'm gonna steal a book because I'm smart and in a place where I could totally be arrested for reading. And she steals a book, she does not get caught, but she runs into the heir, and then from that one meeting, the heir like picks her instead. So now Nomi's a Grace, and she's never trained for it in her life. And Serena's her handmaiden. Oh, whoops, except Serena is seen holding said book and now is banished. She gets banished to Mount Ruin, which is this big prison island where all the women there fight to the death for food in their gangs. So it's this dual POV of Nomi dealing with conspiracy at the castle because the brother of the heir is telling her he is horrible and volatile and he wants to help her get out. She didn't ask for this life. And she's like, dude, I am in. Also, let's make out. And then Serena is on the island and she's like, I don't want to do this. We need to stand up. But her whole gang is like, dude, if you do that, they shoot us all. So fight in the ring. And also meets a guard who, gee whiz, they also fall in love. Thing about this, it's not a bad book. It just presents nothing new. Especially if this was published only in 2018. If this had been published back in the 2010s or something, yeah. This would have been a big deal. It'd be great in the reign of during like Hunger Games and stuff. Now it just doesn't present me with anything new. Everything was very predictable. I still enjoyed it enough to want to read the sequel because I'm hoping we get something more than what this was. I'll let you know when I read the sequel in 10 years. And last up, the end of last year, I was trying to check off as many books as I possibly could that were on my books I wanted to read in 2019, and I read the first one. I did not get to finishing the rest of the series. I did this month, and that was the 3 Dark Crowns series. I read 1 Dark Throne, 2 Dark Reigns, 5 Dark Fates, and the 2 novellas, Queens of Fenbir, featuring the Young Queens and the Oracle Queen. We're gonna leave the novellas separate for now, because I have opinions. We're gonna talk about all these. These were great. These were really good. I think of the 3, I enjoyed 2 Dark Reigns the best. This one. 1 Dark Throne was also very good. Very fast paced and a wild ride. But 5 Dark Fates, I liked it. I did not appreciate how certain people died and thought they deserved better. And I don't want to spoil it for you because this book did recently come out. For people who don't want spoilers, I will not spoil, but once you read it, you'll know who I'm talking about. Also, I need another novella because of the ending of this book. I need an actual reunion, please. Not just talking about a reunion. Excuse you? You don't do that to me. Not to my boy. The one boy in the entire series that I cared about. Did not care about Peter or Joseph. Joseph especially. I would definitely rank them as 2 Dark Reigns, 1 Dark Throne, and then 5 Dark Fates. With, I think I would actually put 3 Dark Crowns right above it. 3 Dark Crowns takes a lot of world building time that can drag. It really doesn't pick up until like that last 100 pages. 1 Dark Throne and 2 Dark Reigns are just like, boom, we're going now. I also hate Amelia, FYI. I think she was a nasty character and I did not like her. I did not appreciate her at all. I said it. You don't come for Arsinoe like that, all right? That's my girl. And then with the novellas. There are 2 novellas in here. We have The Young Queens, which I really, really liked. It was a nice little insight into how the young queens were and how they grew up, and gave us a little backstory because in Three Dark Crown talks about the time that Joseph, Jules, and Arsinoe try to escape the island, and this gives you that bit, which is really nice, and I liked that. Also get the novella, The Oracle Queen, which tells you why they always drown Oracle babies, though they shouldn't. My problem with this, and this is my problem with most short stories, is because I always want more. I don't like them ending so quickly. I want to read more into it. There was just nothing happy about the Oracle Queen. Nothing good happened. It was all just a downhill ride from start to finish that made me very upset. You knew it wasn't going to end well because of the way that they talk about the last Oracle Queen in the series, but did it have to hit so hard? The Oracle Queen, Elizabeth, didn't get a moment of goodness happening to her the entire time, even though there was a potential for this other romance. That didn't happen, and they all still got crap handed to them. So I don't like the Oracle Queen novella. I had to get that off my chest. But those are the books that I read in January. Whoo! Can I read that many in February? I definitely have a bigger TBR. Yikes. I'm reading 2 very big books right now, so probably not. So cuties, what books did you read in January? Put them down below. If you've read any of these books, what were your thoughts? And of course, if you guys like my content and want to keep seeing more, please consider buying me a coffee. Link in the description. The fuel of most writers, even though I don't actually drink it, but it is a little donation-y site where you can help support me in my future endeavors, especially for a big project in May that costs a lot of money that I will be telling you about sometime in the future. But I have other stuff I need to solidify before I tell you that stuff. Hey! I'm sorry. I need to go home. I am home. I need to go to bed. I will see you next time, cuties. Bye.